Okay, welcome my guests. Good afternoon, our viewers. Okay. Okay, just a little bit of setup here. Okay, we're good to go. Hello, our viewers. Welcome to Nani online discussion. It's a very, very good weather today. It's a little rainy here in Pennsylvania. So we are going to talk to you about physical and mental health for amongst African youth. And what does it take to have a well-balanced life? How does it take to be a high-performance individual in Africa and the world today? So I have my wonderful guest here today. So on my left is Osee from DR Congo, and we'll get to hear more about Zef and what he does, incredible things in Africa. And on my right here is a wonderful lady. Her name is Violet, all the way from Zimbabwe. And also she's doing amazing things as well. We get to hear more about that. And I'm your host, Falecia Massacky from Tanzania, from Nani. So welcome, and let's have an engaging discussion. You can comment, you can send your views, and we'll be happy to read them out and engage together. So welcome, my viewers, and then my guests.
Thank you.
Okay, so can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you do? So we can start with Violet.
Oh, okay. My name is Violet Jubane from Zimbabwe. I'm a sports manager. I'm working for Zimbabwe Football Association. I'm responsible for management of First Division Football League in my country. I'm also a coach, like a soccer coach for I'm actually volunteering as under 15 coach for girls team in my province.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Zef?
Hi, I'm called Muteba. I am from DR Congo, so I am proudly Congolese. Some people know it as the Democratic Republic of Congo. Some people know it as Zaire, and others know it actually as Congo Kinshasa. And I'm just glad to be here. I work with an organization. I serve with the chapel of an organization called Un Jour Nouveau, or African New Day, which counsels women. We have been brutalized by all kind of sexual violence, and as well teaches positive masculinity to men who have gone, so that they may be champions in the fights against all kind of gender-based violence. And let me just say, I as well run a personal company. I have a farming business that is called Yummy Food, and we are cultivating or farming tomatoes. And I'm actually glad to be here, and we'll get just to know each other as time goes by.
All right, thank you so much, Zef. So I just want us to reflect. This is going to be a conversation, and just share what things that we either experience or perhaps we're aware somehow. So when you talk about physical and mental health, I know it's a broad subject, but basically we want to look at an African youth, their day to day, and what does it take to have a well-balanced life and a high-performance, life. And just starting from that, I would like to get your views on what do you think, what does it come to your mind when you think, what does it mean to have a well-balanced life to you?
From my own point of view, I think to have a balanced life, it's like when you are involved in education as well as physical fitness of your body, like exercises, jogging in the morning, maybe playing matches, like just for exercising. So today, the youth are more engaged with technology, and they don't want to commit themselves to this life of active life of giving themselves time to exercise. So that's what I can say about the youth of today concerning the balance between health and physical fitness.
Okay, I like it because she's from FIFA and sports, and maybe you'll tell us a little bit about it later. So you're looking at it in terms of how people have time for exercise and like more of physical health in terms of getting time to, and how technology is an obstacle to that, and maybe also we'll discuss about that later. How about you, Zef? How do you link that?
Well, I think apart from the physical health that we're supposed to be having, for you and I to be here, we had to be healthy. I think there is as well another thing that is involved is we actually go to school from the moment we were born and we are growing up. We go to school to develop our mental health. And our mental health is important, but there is as well a physical part which is as well important. We cannot only develop our mental health and just leave our physical health without ever practicing or doing any exercise. One of the things that we are currently observing with our technological generation is that their attention span has reduced. We can no longer focus for some time. So both our emotional health or our psychological health has gone really bad. And on the other side, the time we spend using technological devices, we are not as well playing on the field or doing any physical exercise. So we are unhealthy both emotionally. We no longer feel what other people are feeling because we are only focusing on our devices, and we're not practicing either. I remember asking a very good friend of mine the question, do you play sports? And he said, yes, I play rugby. And then I asked him the question, so when do you ever practice? And you seem pretty slender for somebody who plays rugby. And he says, yes, I do play rugby, but on my PlayStation.
Oh.
So to me, I just feel like we are losing something currently in our generation. And there is call for a certain balance to develop ourselves firstly emotionally and psychologically, but we're as well supposed to be healthy physically. That's what I think about the subject.
Okay, so that's very interesting, and I like how. So we're looking at how more we can do more about our mental, our physical part of it. So let's just look at how perhaps the evolution of it. If I look at perhaps history and our forefathers, maybe, how I think there were not much of technology back then, and it was about means of survival, and they did a lot of things from production to all other things, and there were a lot of I would say diversification, the economic activities and things like that. And now with the evolution, perhaps even the education system, perhaps it's not designed to maybe create a whole dimension person. Like prosperity is more about academic excellence maybe, and maybe not so much on how you can have a mental health, you can have a physical health and things like that. So what is your view about, the education system, or maybe even the child upbringing? Like, do our parents raise us in a way that we're all balanced individuals? What are your views, maybe even you guys growing up, and what experiences have you had, perceptions and things like that from maybe parents, community, and maybe the education as well? What is its contribution? That might be very big, but however you can look at it.
Okay, before just a point of correction, I'm not at FIFA. I'm actually a FIFA accredited grassroots coach, and I was also trained by FIFA like as a sports manager. So the evolution concerning physical fitness, it's like people are migrating from rural areas to town, like currently, and you find in towns there is less activity than in the rural areas, because we used to go to school walking on foot, but now people don't like to live the same kind of life. So it's actually a big impact concerning physical fitness. And also, like the schools which are there, even in urban areas, they don't give space to promote sports activities, which is actually an issue which needs like probably government intervention to make sure that these youths get proper education and also experience of physical fitness. So the culture that is there today does not promote a lot of physical fitness. That's what I can say.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and it's very true. You find some schools that have no. I grew up in a school first, my parents, I'll just say about my parents. My dad was just strict about education in terms of, you have to be top in class, or, like that was the main goal, that was the main discussion. The report, what does the report have to say? What is the grade that you have? And I remember I wanted to participate in this competition, like talent competitions. I was very good at reading when I was like early, so I would take part into competitions, and I came first in a reading competition, and I was supposed to go compete with other schools like at a regional level. So when I told my dad, because they needed to have consent from my parents, so when I asked my dad if I could take part in that, he refused. And for him, it was a distraction from the main thing, which was, which was focusing on studying and getting the grades. So I lost out an opportunity that I would never know maybe what it would have taken me into, and perhaps explore something else. And that was the trend. Like when I went to a school, secondary school, it was a boarding school, and there were no extracurriculars. Like it's only studying, and the mission of the school was to be like, top school in the nation or something like that. So you cut out all the hours for personal time, maybe time for reflection, time for sports. So I didn't, as much as I wanted to be in different fields, I would really not get the opportunity. And so that in a way hindered me. Like right now, if you ask me what kind of sports that I can play or what, it's just by default, like maybe I think I could be a good pianist, I could be a good volleyball or something. So yeah, those are the challenges. Yeah.
Well, I just want to speak a little bit about, you asked us about the way we grew up, how our parents they never were in a technological era. But let me just focus on the other side, the flip side, because we are talking about emotional health and physical health. Violet is well placed to talk a little more about the physical health, but sure. I want to talk a little bit about the emotional health. When we were growing up, we never had all this technology, but I think there are 4 levels to education. And I think the first level to education is to know. You know what you're supposed to do. You know first. And then you know how to do things. The third level now, to be excellent even in the field, let me say in a work environment, you're supposed to know how to be and how to be with others. But when we were growing up, they will just focus on knowing and knowing how to do things. So our parents never had anything to do with who we are, how to be, and how we relate with others, because we would relate with others whenever we had to go out to play sports together. So I would say that growing up, we only knew that 1 + 1 = 1. You know how you're supposed to do it. You do some little balls and some little circles that you're going to count. You know how to. But you do not know how to be yourself or how to be with others. And in one way or another, that has paralyzed us. It's paralyzed us in that we didn't know exactly what we needed, who we were, so that it could affect our performance in everything that we were doing. And then on the flip side of it, we didn't know as well how to relate with others. I grew up, I used to play a lot of basketball when I was a little younger than I am today. And at times you will be told you're not supposed to be playing basketball, you're supposed to be reading only. So in one way or another, it's made us lose this kind of balance that we would like to see. Not only people who were competent, but people who as well have interpersonal skills. Because if I am not doing well emotionally and I am not able to feel what the other person is feeling, then I will not be productive at all. So that is how I personally grew up. I knew how, but I didn't know how to be and how to be with others. So my emotions never mattered. Whether I failed in class because I was feeling that they yelled at me and it traumatized me, that didn't matter. You were supposed to pass in school, and that's all they want to know. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting, and I think it's a very important part, like knowing ourselves. And unfortunately, that's like the last thing most of us, that's the last thing we do, figuring out, like going to the journey of yourself, what you really want. So welcome our viewers once again. If you just joined us right now, we're live streaming from Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. We're talking about physical and mental health amongst African youth. And here are my wonderful guests. I have Osee from DR Congo, and I have Violet from Zimbabwe. So welcome, send in your comments, and we'll be happy to engage you. So going back to what we are talking about, so I wanted to ask ourselves, like, just about the mental health. I thought you mentioned something about feelings, and it just, I think for young people, as much as we don't really address this issue, I think feelings have a lot to contribute to whatever we do. It can be a huge significant part of our lives, because I think emotional part of us it plays a big role, and if it's not properly addressed, I think we have a number of young people, teenagers, who commit suicide and things like that, just because perhaps they have no one to talk to about their issues, and also sometimes the influence of social media making them like feel like they're less than they're less than enough and things like that. And perhaps, I don't know for adults, but I know this is a case for a good number of teenagers who go through this, or they will resort to drugs, abuse, and things like that, just because of the feeling to want to belong, to be wanted, and things like that. And I don't know if there's maybe in religious background, perhaps there is that, or maybe in schools, I don't know. But what is your thinking about emotional health, emotional space and things like that? What's your stance, or your
Thank you for the question. My experience concerning a relationship is actually a relationship between emotional and physical emotions. The issue is that people who don't exercise a lot are likely to have like depression or stress. So these things, they work together. So there is need for someone to refresh, to have some kind of exercise in order to stimulate the brain. Even at school, that's why they promote sports, like for young kids, they usually do a lot of exercise in order to stimulate them so that they remain active in their brain, which means our mentality needs some kind of stimulation, but it comes through physical activity. So it's actually a big issue. So majority of these youth, they concentrate on like in-house things, social media, internet, all those things. So the brain will become stressed and suppressed, like there's no fresh air, there's nothing. So it's actually a big issue. We need to incorporate both parties. Yeah.
Okay, so would you know what feelings or what emotional, whatever, trauma or something, like maybe young people would be going through? And you can give us an example of Congo maybe, and what I know with what you're doing, I don't know, maybe you can relate to it or just share your insights.
Okay, well, in DRC, I interact a lot with young people, and we have seen over the years maybe the performance dropping. And well, we live in a country that was turned by wars and all kind of troubles that were experienced in the country practically. I personally grew up in the part of the country, in the eastern part, where the trouble is the fiercest. It's in that we saw a lot of wars coming one after another, leaving us with the thought maybe we've been cursed and we're unable to experience anything positive out of here. What we didn't know is that seeing all these people dying and nobody saying anything about it, it became normal for us. And we would be expected to if we would meet people that were not necessarily from the eastern part of Congo, we will be expected to come up with the same results these people are able to produce. Yet, we did not go through the same things. So the things that I go through make me become the kind of person that I am, and they make me become, they shape the way I react to the things that I experience. And the youth that has grown in the eastern part of Congo went through a kind of trauma, and they were not able to perform as much as the youth coming from any other part of the country. Over the years, we've understood that unless we deal with this problem that people have experienced, seeing their loved ones experiencing very hard situations that they went through, unless we deal with that first, we will not be able to be productive in any other field. We are talking about the problem with our academic curriculum or anything, but I think in one way or another, there is something that is missing in our generation about taking care of the emotions of people. Because when they started addressing this kind of problem, telling somebody to tell it's okay not to be okay. It is okay to express that you are not feeling good about something.
True.
And just talk about it. And when people started talking about the very fact that they were not feeling good with all the things that happened, automatically it came and helped them become a little better performers than they were before. So I do believe that in this generation, unless we know exactly what the people have gone through, we will not be able to address exactly the way they need to be educated to be performing in what they're doing. I just want to tell a little story of a university professor who always mistreated women in his class. And they never understood why he mistreated them. But it was because he grew up seeing his father mistreating his mother. And then when he was growing up, he fell in love with a woman who ended up as well breaking his heart. So what happened is that he developed something in spite of his achievements academically. He could not treat properly the opposite sex, any person coming from the opposite sex. So I do believe that we can achieve a lot academically speaking, but we are as well supposed to be healthy mentally. And it is only when this professor was now able to accept, it's true, I have my degrees, I have my doctorate, and I'm a professor right now, I accept that I am not okay and I need some help.
Sure.
Then he was able to know how to relate with others properly. Yes.
That's very good. Thank you, sir. Someone has Rogate. Mental health is not commonly discussed among Africans. It's important to have these talks. That's very true. And just as you say that, like, people really don't get a platform, or they're not encouraged to really speak from their heart and really share what's going on with them. And I think that cuts across a lot of us. Like, sure. I would say, even in I think now you're much more stable compared to when you went through the wars and stuff like that. So even when countries are stable, Tanzania, we're peaceful, but still there's a lot of issues that can be very stressing. You mentioned about stressing and depression. Like, you go to school, you get your degree, you stay a year, 2 years without getting a job, and that's like a trend now with youth unemployment. And when you stay at home, when your family is looking at you, you should be having a job now, and you don't have, can be a very big hindrance and can be really emotionally draining thing. And that's just one crisis that is facing the youth right now, like coming up with a solution to absorb all this kind of unemployed population. But that's just one of it. The other thing could be maybe according to gender roles, issues of gender.
Sure.
So perhaps there are things that women go through, and they're maybe like, emotionally draining. I could speak for some, you could speak for some, but we don't really have a platform where we can really come in and share. Same with men. Men are raised to be strong, to man up, to toughen up, and things like that. And how that's even the most difficult part, you don't really get to talk, so you suck it up, and that can be a problem.
Without wanting to interrupt you, I remember a few days back I was actually walking with someone, and I was it was on a very steep slope, and then I became tired, and I was like, you know what? I am so tired. And she looked at me and she was like, come on, you're a man. Well, these are the kind of things that we experienced over time. We are taught that being a man means that you don't have emotions, you cannot cry, you cannot express your pain, you just have to fight to make the ends meet. And since we were pretty little, I remember my roommate when we were still in university was from South Sudan. And he told me that he was circumcised at the age of 12. And he told me that they will be circumcised without any anesthesia. So when that would happen, if you cried, they will tell you were the weaker man in the clan. So can you imagine being 12 years old, bearing this kind of pain because you're a man and you're not supposed to express the things that you are going through? And that is exactly what is going on. But what we do not know is that a lot of men are breaking down. And we are wondering, why is the performance going down? Yet the answer to the question is that our mental health, they don't care about that. They just want to make us believe that being a man means being a fighter. We're not healthy mentally, but they want us to be healthy in any other field. That cannot work.
That's right. Yeah. What about you, Violet? How about maybe the gender issues for women or something in Zimbabwe or whatever? I don't know. Given your experiences, what could be burning, and maybe there is no room for that?
Oh, the main issue which is burning in my country is like, as women, we assume that we are the ones who are responsible for our marriages. Which means if I have a problem with my husband, I need to keep it, and I can't report the case to the police, and it remains suppressed in my mind, and it will affect my brain. It's actually a real issue, and women are being encouraged right now through NGOs and other governmental organizations to speak out, like report any case of violence or something.
Okay, so welcome again, our viewers. I believe you're following us right now as we're talking about physical and mental health amongst African youth. And I have interesting guests here, and there is one more joining us. His name is Mompoloki Makwana from Botswana, who is going to be also just adding a little bit of his insights. Welcome, Mompoloki. The seat is yours as well. And we have Zev from DR Congo. We have Violet from Zimbabwe. So it's been an interesting discussion as we are talking about different issues from physical health. We're going to talk. We talked about mental health as far as speaking about our emotions and things like that for Africans, and whether there's a platform for that. So welcome, Mompoloki. How are you?
Hi, I'm very fine. Yourself?
Yes. Okay, so it's great to have you here. So we've been having an interesting discussion, and I know you're working on, you're a coach, yes, and working on personal development. You're the author, or you've written books on personal success. So can we get a little bit of your insights, yeah? What does it take for a young African, to be a high-performing individual? Maybe what is your perception from the reality and from the work you do, and where they're supposed to be? Maybe if there are any challenges, what are your insights on that?
All right. From the professional side of view is that I work with. From the professional side of view is that I work with employees from different organizations, and the work that we do is we do professional development coaching, and one of the things that I'm focused more on is creating high performance culture. an organization to perform better, they need to have employees who are performing better. So I realized that now when we were doing the research on the booklet we are releasing called Corporate Guide to Creating High Performance Culture, we realized that high performing individuals are not machines. They are not people that they are born to be high performers. You have to decide as an individual what you represent, the values that represent you. Some people, getting an average result is fine for them. Some people going an extra mile is something that makes them happy. But we have to find out what are the characteristics, what are the things that we can push into someone that can enable them to say, you know what, I'm willing to go an extra mile. I want to do much better than I was doing before. So we realized that, number one, people who perform better, they normally they normally attach their identity, who they are, to what they do. So they don't want to be saying, it's so and so, it's Zeph who did this thing. They want it to represent something, represent greatness, represent that. So we help people to identify who they are, what do you really represent. And sometimes before we identify that, we do anything anyhow, because we don't know what we represent. So we help people to know, look, if you are representing greatness, this is how it looks like. If you are representing progress, this is how it looks like. So that people carry around their identity and are able to perform at their highest best.
Thank you very much. And I think, I don't know if there's a proper model on having a high performing or a well-balanced life. What I'm getting from all this is about the sense of knowing yourself, and knowing what you want, so it's and that's how I think success is. It's more objective to someone, like subjective to you, which could be different from my definition of success. Maybe what I can ask for each one of us, like, what is our maybe secret ingredient, or maybe what is our style in making sure that we have a well-balanced life? For instance, for me, I like to have my me time.
Okay.
My me time is the time that I get to self-reflect, to meditate, or like on where I am. So it's like getting myself out of myself and looking at myself from outside and really, see where I've come from, where I am, and where I'm going. And basically, assessing myself. And, that way helps me to get back in track in terms of the things that I think make me to be more balanced. So how does it work for each one of you? Like, how do you, and it's a busy world today, remember that.
Sure.
You guys are doing amazing things. You're right now here. Perhaps you have your things back home, a lot of activities. You have a farm, you're doing things with young people, same, you have a family and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and that is a young person today, okay, very busy, perhaps no time to have a balanced life. So how do you keep it in track and making sure that, everything falls? And maybe when you miss it, how do you get back? Yeah, so let's start with Zeph. Now I got to say.
Well, I wish I had gone last.
Really? So you could just,
right.
You could get time to reflect.
Okay,
I
can start with that.
All right, coach.
For me, I think it's, initially I used to think, well, if I reach this, I'll be successful.
Yes.
And then I realized, okay, I have the money that I wanted. I have the car that I want. I have the resource that I wanted. I have written books. I still feel, oh no, man, I can still do much better. I think the basic principle to happiness and joy and creating balance in your life is growth. When people don't grow, they get depressed. You can earn 20,000 for 7 months. Trust me, after 7 years, you feel like you're not earning. So there is no an end where you say, oh, well, now I am balanced. And life being stretching from all points with technology now, the way we raise kids in today is not the same way we're going to raise them in 5 years to come.
Sure.
So even now, the way we strike balance will keep on changing over time. And it means we have to, get more information that pushes us before, better than before. There's a saying that I like so much, which means, yesterday's home run cannot win today's game. So I think every single day when I think I've done it, I realize, no, today is a new day. I have to set a new sail. I have to set a new standard. So that kind of that's success for me. If I'm able to do things better than I did them yesterday, if I'm able to talk to my daughter and create communication better than I did yesterday, for me it's a win. And for me it's growth. And I am expecting to grow and evolve because they are growing as well. So I have to keep on, improving myself. Until we die, we are going to continuously be growing mentally, physically, financially, and resourcefully. That's what success for me.
I like that. Thank you.
Concerning me, what I can assume as my success is when I help someone to achieve his or her own dreams. I have grown up in the village. You see people with talent. You see young talented boys, athletes, footballers who didn't get the opportunity to showcase their talent and even to be developed to their maximum. So I would want to have someone one day from maybe my community who would reach his or her maximum and even give back to the community, like we have our own Lionel Messi in my community, whereby the person would come and maybe put electricity for the whole village or build a hospital for the whole community. That's my vision, and is at the moment I assume I haven't reached my goal. Yeah.
But now again, back against the question, like how do you balance your life, like making sure that it's you have family, you have work, you have, how do you make sure it's balanced? So if maybe it's not, what are you working on towards that?
In the case of determining that I am living a balanced life, as soon as I am done with my job, I concentrate on my social life. So I make sure that at the time which is allocated to work, I concentrate on work, and for my life, I do like for my life. So I'll be trying to balance and assess myself at the end of the day. If I had an appointment, did I meet the appointment? If there's someone whom I am supposed to respond, maybe a question, or I have a social issue to address at home, I'll assess myself at the end of the day that, did I meet this person? Did I respond to my mother? She phoned me, maybe I missed a call. Did I deal with all those things? So I make sure that I don't have much in my plate to make sure that I live a balanced life.
Okay, that's very interesting. So we're learning from Mompoloki that success is not about the money. When you get the money, you realize that there are other things. So it's more about wider than just money. And you're telling us about having time for, like family and things like that besides your work. So that's something very important. Back to you, Zeph. I hope you have the points already.
Well, not yet, but it's gonna come. So I really loved what Mompoloki was saying, and I would say that for me, success is not a destination. Success is a journey for me. Like when I was still a toddler, or when I was still maybe a few years old, maybe a year old, success for me will be defined as stopping to crawl and standing. At that point, success will be defined. The next stage will be for me to be able to walk, and my parents will come, oh, he's actually walking. And that would be success. But today, I don't see my parents coming to say, oh, he's walking. So it means that it has been a journey. It's a journey in which I experience success each and every single day. I'll say that for our youth, I would like to say that the greatness of every person lies in his ability to accept change when change comes.
Yeah, true.
Our generation is changing. I love what he said. The way we were raising our children yesterday is not the way we will raise them today, or tomorrow is not how we are going to be raising them. So to me, I will define success as the little wins that I experience on my day-to-day life. Like the things that make me the kind of person that I am. I will define success as the changes I am able to accomplish and to do even as I am growing each and every single day. And I would like to finish my statement by saying that success is a discipline. Why I remember an author called Lord Lombo said, if things like discipline are important, it is simply to show you that your greatest enemy is not outside but inside. It means that unless you're disciplined, your enemy, who is yourself, will kill yourself. That's how I want to end.
I like that. So it comes back to your own responsibility, yeah? Karosanga says, I think lists are very helpful. Having a list of professional work-related tasks and personal social tasks is very helpful. So I think this is about, having to prioritize, yeah? Knowing what is important to you. And I think maybe that can also be a question. Someone might want to have a well-balanced life, a high-performing life, but does not know how to go about it. What do you think, how can you help this person who does not have a list, who has no clue and perhaps wants to learn? Like, what could that list, entail, or what could be the priorities? What do you think?
Well,
Yeah.
well, I just want to say something regarding that. How can we do that? The late Dr. Miles Monroe said 3 things when it came to that. He said, number one, if you want to be a high-performing person, you have to prioritize.
Yeah.
You know exactly these are the things that I'm supposed to do. I need some physical exercise. I need to share and connect emotionally with people. I need time for my family. I need time for myself professionally. So you put priorities right, and then you organize. Because what is a priority right now might not be a priority 2 hours later.
Yeah, sure.
You organize, you say this priority at this time comes before this other one. Like if this is time for family, you shouldn't be working because you're supposed to be spending time with your family. So number one, you prioritize. Number 2, you organize. And number 3, I will come back to disciplining. You can prioritize, you can organize, you can have a to-do list.
Yeah.
But unless you discipline yourself to doing that and putting that into practice, you'll be a simple failure.
That's very true. That's very true. And I think a lot of young people, maybe that could be also another problem. I don't know for your countries, but I find when young people, those who are in schools, let's say they're back in holidays, you find they're too idle, like spending all the time just to maybe walk around, go to the malls, hang out a lot. And for older youth, after work hours, there is no much to life than just doing what is required of them. So you find a lot of idle time and now complaining when there are no opportunities or when there are issues that are not there. Or maybe you find people hanging out, maybe just discussing about politics, or it's not bad, but things that they're not discussing about solutions on how they can be part of the solution, but more about the status quo and things like that. Or, things that do not add value
to themselves.
Perhaps, I don't know for your countries, but those are the people that should be productive to the economy and things like that. So how do we talk about them? Because it's like they have much time, but it's not really put into use. And I think time is a very important resource and things. So what can we say, or what are our thoughts about how can we engage more youth to have, more balance in terms of, as while they're being productive too.
I think if you could have talked to me 20 years back, let me say 20 years back, that was when I was 8, 9, 10. I dropped out of school. I didn't know. And then I was 15, 16. I wouldn't, someone would see me idling around and they will try to say, why can't you do this? And I'll feel so bad. Why am I given the job? I'll complain. I'll blame. I'll start finger pointing because I didn't find who I am. Most of the things that are happening today, drugs and alcohol abuse, the issue of sex marriages and stuff like that, are the results of people who haven't really defined who they are, and therefore a man who stands for nothing falls for everything. So anything that comes to plate, they are willing to just go with the flow. My friends are doing this, is hashtag, this thing is trending. We see these things because people haven't really defined who they are, and the moment you define who you are, you automatically define your future. This is my destiny, where I am going. And now people with destinies, with defined destinies, now they wake up every single morning not to do what they want, but to do what the vision is calling them to do. You say, okay, this is what I represent. I want to build a school. I want to do this. Now every single morning when you wake up, you already know the steps that you have to take. So most people are idle because they don't know where they are going. And I know so many people who normally talk of what they don't like, but most people will never say 10 things what they want. Most people know what they don't want. They don't know what they want. And therefore, when they wake up every single morning, they are looking around for the things they don't like. And they become idle and they are not productive because they don't have anything they stand for. So the moment we help them to discover themselves, who they are, trust me, you will not even have time to tell someone to wake up. You will not say you are making noise. People will self-discipline themselves.
Thank you very much. Just want to quickly read the comments here. As youth, we need to believe in ourselves and think positive in order to reach our goals. Back to the point that we've been talking about, that is by Nasei Edwards. Then Proscovia says, I always find work-life balance are usually gender biased. You rarely hear such question addressed to male counterparts. Is it that a lot is expected from a woman? I would love to hear that from men's view. All right. So the man here in the room.
Yeah.
So what is your view on that?
Zeph.
Mompoloki.
Oh, this is how it goes, huh?
No,
Okay, we're here to
I really believe that I know what he's talking about. We have different cultures. I don't know where she's talking from. Is there
From
any-
Tanzania,
From Tanzania.
Proskovia.
Yes, from our culture at Botswana, they normally will find that before there were men who were working and women were not working. Now we have women who are, ministers. We have the youngest minister in Minister of Trade, and now these are the people who are working, the go-getters. So the ability now, is so mixed. We are moving into a developed environment where people are willing to say we have stay-home moms and stuff like that. So it's really changing. It's no longer embedded in that culture where the women have to stay behind. Now people can balance. They do co-parenting. Like, okay, I have to be by Sundays. My Sundays are off. I'm doing this, and the lady has to be doing that. It's not that at that stage perfection we want, but things are slowly and gradually changing to get to where we are saying now a man has to take a paternity leave and the woman has to go there. It's bit by bit. We know that issues of sexuality, issue of gays and lesbian, it has been something, the topics that we were shying away because of the cultural background, but we know today things are opening up and people are having conversation with our kids. This is something that will take time as well. When will the baby start to grow? When will the baby start working? The moment they start working, we all need her to be patient with the process, and it will get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to you. And that. You have a different perception?
I think he said it all.
All right.
It's just a matter of culture that it is changing over time. The things that we were shying away from saying yesterday and the things that we were particularly only throwing on women are now being turned to men as well. So I think the balance is happening because I think the hardest thing to ever happen is change.
Yeah.
Not only changing oneself, now changing a full culture is not easy.
Yeah.
So it is there are changes that are happening. And I will just tell her that the thing that is supposed to happen now is dialogue. It is better when you are on a one-on-one with a person and you would like maybe the person to change certain habits. It is better to address the person on a dialogue, and it is easier to change a single person than to change a whole nation, because changing a whole nation will start by changing an individual.
And one thing I think also women have a role to play as much, because I remember, was it in a session with Mary Frances or something?
Yeah.
She said that we as women are the ones who give birth to these men, and how we raise them will matter, and how the kind of people will turn out. So again, it goes back to mothers and women at large. Like, the kind of boy you raise is the man that will be. So let us teach them well and raise them well to be men who have
virtue and standard, who respect women, and who understand that everyone matters.
And co-work together to build better homes and better family, and as a result, better nations. Yeah.
Sure.
So we are out of time, so thank you, our viewers, for joining us today. The session, the topic was about physical and mental health amongst African youth. What does it take to have a well-balanced and a high-performance individual in today's world? And I had very, very interesting guests today. Jose from DRC, Congo, Violet from Zimbabwe, Mompoloki Makwana from Botswana, and I'm your host, Falecia Massacky from Nani, Tanzania. You can catch us on the live show for the next 24 hours, and also we'll upload this video on YouTube. Please subscribe and follow us. Thank you very much for joining us. Till then, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.